Hey everyone, Kevin here, and welcome back to my channel. So, Chicago's had a fun last few days when it comes to education, haven't they? The entire school board just resigned in protest of Mayor Brandon Johnson's meddling in the district and his attempted ousting of the current sitting CEO or superintendent, Pedro Martinez. He said that anyone who opposes his agenda should get out of the way. But to give some context, Chicago Public Schools, CPS for short, is facing a $7 billion debt, yes, that's billion with a B, and a $500 million deficit for the coming 25-26 school year. COVID relief funds have entirely dried up now, and the state, as most did, relied on them far too long. So they allocated the original money elsewhere to build a new football stadium for the Chicago Bears. Details aside, though, this is a microcosm of the financial issues that plague school districts nationwide now, and how, as I've said many times, that schools are funded just fine. We simply don't use that money effectively and became addicted to COVID funds instead of realizing they would eventually run out. And that brings us to the current issue. The 7-person school board is chosen by the mayor, but will be transitioning over to a 21-person board with 10 elected by voters and 11 chosen by the mayor, including the board president. Now, why is any of this important? Well, what you're seeing is another example of a policymaker making decisions based on their political ideologies and beliefs instead of what's best for the students, even though Johnson ironically says that what he is doing is best, when it clearly isn't. And this isn't an isolated issue either. Districts everywhere are dealing with these same problems. This entire controversy is over, yep, you guessed it, contract negotiations. Mayor Johnson and the union want to raise teachers' salaries, which is all and good. Teachers are criminally underpaid after all. Plus, they want more staff to address the teacher retention crisis that they've been suffering from just like everyone else is. But the issue is where the money to do that is all coming from. Remember that $7 billion debt and $500 million deficit they're dealing with? The board and CEO are well aware of it. They've already voted unanimously to support a budget plan to deal with it over 5 years, and here's the important part, voted unanimously against the mayor's desired, very high interest rate, $300 million loan to fund those teacher raises. The board and many members of the city council have said that adding even more debt to such a huge pre existing pile would be totally irresponsible, and I agree. Now, admittedly, the alternative plan already floated by Martinez to cut positions and furlough teachers isn't alluring either, but funding programs entirely on credit when already teetering on bankruptcy is just ridiculous. I mean, did none of these people take high school economics their senior year? It's a pretty basic math problem. So you at least have a veneer of people trying to be fiscally responsible on the one hand, and on the other, you have a union wanting to deficit spend and a mayor who is making this a race issue. He said, and I quote, "This is not about a loan. It is about investing in our children and not accepting cuts like this for too long in this district. Guess who loses when we cut schools? Black and brown children. I don't want black and brown children to lose under my administration. In fact, they're not going to lose under my administration. I'm going to fight for them." And he also threw the terms equity and black student success plan in there somewhere too. You know what my argument in response to that is? All children lose when we don't invest in them, not just minority students or those with disabilities. But you know who loses when we aren't financially responsible? Everyone else, including the parents, student, and every other taxpayer out there who is paying for this loan. And sure, you give teachers a raise and get them more staffing, but how long is that really going to last before layoffs inevitably happen due to lack of funding? I'm not one to advance or advocate for pink slipping teachers, but you also have to look forward and not just at the present. Use the money you already have more effectively, or vote for more funding if you really think the district needs it. Just swiping your credit card and calling it done isn't a solution. Now, yes, Martinez should be more communicative with everyone on how these cuts are going to impact the district, and he isn't a saint either. But the mayor and union aren't handling this very well. They're trying to turn the school board into a rubber stamp beholden to them and Johnson, has effectively tried to get them to fire the CEO despite there still being 2 years left on his contract. He refused when the mayor asked him to resign, as you can imagine, and the school board just resigned themselves in response after being constantly pushed to remove him. Even parents have been quoted to say that there is clearly something wrong with the mayor's leadership when his own people disagree with him and that the board is tired of being a puppet for him. Clearly, this lame duck council he will appoint prior to the elections is intended to be that rubber stamp he's looking for who will fire Martinez and push through his own policies. As one of the city councilmen said, there's a deep dysfunction in this district, and there is genuine concern over the mayor's actions. Most of them have signed a letter supporting the board's choice to resign and go against the mayor by saying they want meetings before any appointments are made in the interim. Now, I've been rambling about this for quite a while now, so I should probably get to the point of why I'm covering such a local issue. But that's the thing, and why I'm talking about this. It isn't a local issue. This is occurring everywhere, and why even during this mass teacher retention crisis where more than 1 million teachers have left over the last 5 years, they still are laying off educators to balance the books in almost all 50 states. Plus, the infighting between mayors, school boards, and superintendents is finally spilling over into the public eye for you all to see. David and I don't have to break the fourth wall on this to show you. They're doing it for us this time. But look, there's a need for teachers to be paid well. There's a need for all students to be included and given the ability to succeed regardless of their background. There's a need for good programs for our youth. And yes, there's also a need for everyone to start treating education better. But there's also a need for financial stability, and most districts are showing how they're completely incapable of doing that because of pet projects sponsored by those with the political capital to do so. They push what they want to do while they never once asked educators themselves for their input. I can guarantee that Chicago's union is hyper focused on teacher pay and staffing concerns, but nothing else that their members are really concerned about. It's just frustrating that we're still at this point where we fight over what's best for the kids, yet never include the people who are the ones actually teaching them in those conversations. They talk about us, but don't let us speak for ourselves. Until that happens, we're going to see power plays and ego trips where those in authority play politics and fight over financially irresponsible things because they think they know the solutions to education, even though they've never walked a single yard in our shoes. But with that, I think I'll wrap up this long-winded conversation about a current event in the education community. I hope that I clarified some points and helped you to understand why we should be following this situation. It's representative of the things going on across the entire country right now. But let me say thanks for listening, and please take a moment to click like and subscribe to stay up to date with all of my content. Until next time, though, I will see you in the next video.